Yeah, thank you, Shafiu. Let's go to Nattu.
Yeah, finding people. This is a very, very interesting um, part to talk about, given that, like I mentioned, a year ago, we were, I think, 32 people. Now we are 117 people. Sometimes it's easier. Sometimes it's a little bit harder as well. So, but finding people has been an interesting part because as a founder, you actually have to go and sell the company to interesting folks that who want to join in your mission to go with it. In our case, I don't think it ever stopped. And again, this is something that we keep on doing day in and day out. Also, one part is that use the team that who are already onboarded. That means they've already like kind of bought into your vision and came on board. Use them to reach out to their kind of like friends or people that they think that would be beneficial to the team. They would want to bring them in. That's the second approach that we did. We actually have even brothers and sisters within the company as well. So we don't limit at all. Anybody that you think would be a really good fit in here, bring them in. And that's how we were able to bring the first, I would say 20, 30 people within the company without actually reaching out to recruiters or trying to put a lot of advertisements on or job roles out there as well. But bringing and finding people is one thing. Maintaining, keeping them and helping them grow, I think that is, again, very, very interesting thing that you've got to do within the company as well. And I think something like Shafiu would mention, it's hard. It's hard to find really good people, regardless of whichever role that they're in. And especially folks that who think about global and in a bigger vision, it is, again, hard. Technical jobs, if you need to come and like solve one problem, yes, you solve that problem, we no longer need you. But as the company, as any startup mindset is usually you're growing really fast, you would want to bring in people who are growing at the same speed as the company or the startup, because or else they will be outgrown, they'll be bored, they will be your old timers in no time. I think, again, Eedham mentioned about learn it all, like bring people or invite people who has this mentality of learn it all rather than know it all. Like I mentioned, are you hiring them for a problem that you have today? That what happens after that as well? And to add to the ingredients, I think I have something different. This really worked for me. I think a lot of Maldivians, we have this Fulima Dunguri thing where we will do everything that needs to be done. And I think that made a lot of us very kind of skillful in any area that comes to them, rather than thinking or saying that, oh, this is not my domain area. Maldivians are very much like, let me try, and then go learn it, come back, and then start working on that. And that has been one of the best features, or I think characters that I love in every Maldivian kind of team member that we hire. We have, I think, about 40 or 50 across different areas, both in design, in product design to tech, different areas of tech. Of course, they work really, really well with the rest of the teams, which is we have people from about 22 different nationalities, countries right now. But I also want to stress on the part that Shafiu mentioned about communication is a huge, huge factor, because now you are kind of coming into a more diverse and a global team environment. So this is something to keep in mind, bringing people in, but you are the first and the last person to go and pitch your company to people so that they're energized, they're motivated to come on board and actually work with you to achieve your goals. That's it. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I think we will move on to the next area where we discuss the successes and challenges. How do you overcome challenges when building global startups? Let's try with Eedham first. Thank you.
I think the biggest challenge that we had starting off was, I would say, being here and trying to reach out to a global audience. And when we really deep dived into the industry and the philosophy of on how we can actually push a product and push an innovative product that people aren't used to, we have to go back to the a philosophy whereby if you have, let's say, your total market is 1 million users. In our case, there are 800 million students in schools. Not every single 800 million children will immediately adopt the solution, or they will never, there will never be a case where every single person is using it. So we had to look at what percentage of people will be the earliest adopters. And typically in any industry, that would be around 15%. And we had to look at what the 15% of the total market, where they were at. And we decided that that would be Apple distinguished schools and Apple distinguished educators who would easily adopt our solution. And 15% of the users would actually use it. They will trial it, drop it, or they would continue with using it or give your company a chance. And when they begin to use it and come up with case studies, the remaining early adopters will begin to actually have, you'll begin to see usage from them. So it is about crossing the chasm into early adopters. You will never be able to sell an innovative product to somebody who still wants to go and look for a DVD player in a shop. That is definitely not our market, and we will be wasting our energy if we have to go and try and sell this to them. So our challenge was reaching the people who would adopt our solution early. And they were not in the Maldives. Although there are few innovative schools in the country. So when we decided we will target Apple distinguished schools, we had to spend on going and participating in the events. And always when you go to these events in the UK, sometimes and anywhere in the world, you would get ridiculed. And more than once I have heard, a tech startup from the Maldives, and why and all these things, but the moment you know your subject and the moment that they know that how the solution can be beneficial to them, if we can actually articulate the benefit to them, there will be adoption eventually. So the biggest challenge was reaching the market. And I would say our biggest success, apart from internal workings, when going to market would be our strategic partnerships. And we managed to build strategic partnerships with Apple distinguished schools, Apple Education, Shobi, Dialogue Axiata, and GEMS International Schools, which is the largest private international school group in the world, and ACS, which is a big school group in UK. CBSE board is working with us, which is the largest curriculum development board in the world. It's only situated in one country, while Cambridge has about 6 million plus students sitting for the exams all over the world. In one country, just a couple of hours away from us in India, CBSE, there are 26 million students sitting for the exam of one board. So they are 3 to 4 times larger than international curriculums. So we really had to figure out how we can communicate with so many different sort of markets. And I would say the biggest challenge for me was teachers always saying, we have always done it that way. Don't tell me what to do. I have been teaching for 30 years. It has been working, but we have to actually tell them that the world is very different from what it has been 30 years ago, and this mentality is something that we really need to break. And it is a challenge that I foresee us dealing with for the rest of the life of this startup. And one other thing in particular that I need to highlight is having a very good grip on legal and compliance issues when it comes to whatever business that you are dealing with. In the case of us, we got a contract very early on with a municipality in Sweden, immediately after one of our showings or demonstration of our application in UK, and we didn't get the contract. They were interested, they liked the solution, but we didn't get the contract because we were not GDPR compliant. And at that point, none of us knew what GDPR meant. And when we deep dived into what the consequences of us not being compliant, we would have been fined 5 million euros if we were irresponsible with a GDPR, and if we had gone early and told whoever that we are compliant and something went wrong, and that would have been the end of our journey. We would have had to remain in Mali without traveling, I think, and 5 million euros is something that nobody is interested in paying in terms of fine. So a very good legal and compliance aspect of whatever that you're trying to do, if you're trying to go international, is something that you should really be aware of. And third challenge, I think this might be a minute one, is in getting a very good grip and a hold on how people pay for your solution. If you have just a credit card solution, for an example, we are doing an engagement with a party in Indonesia at the moment. They don't use credit cards. There are many other local methodologies of payments. So in order to do that, you need to have a proper legal structure to set that up, and many things like this. So a good deep dive into where you're going into is something that you really which has been really challenging. And nobody in the Maldives starting up can afford hundreds of thousands of dollars of legal and compliance fees. So we really need to, especially in the early stages, so we really need to be aware of it. I think a platform is required for startups to understand what they are getting into when they are going international, so that small mistakes can be avoided. And sometimes small mistakes can cost a lot. So and success, I would again say, being in the Maldives is also a success, because nobody that I have dealt with, anybody who I wanted to have a close relationship with, if I say come to the Maldives for a meeting, anybody will come, and they will be wearing shorts, talking to you on the beach. You will pet them, hug them, and send them back to their country. And when then you go back to wherever they are from, you'll probably be better friends. So being in the Maldives, in one aspect, is a very big success also. So I mean, you can invite the CEO of any company. I don't think they will deny and say, no.